Recording in progress.
Welcome to the What is God podcast. I'm Shifra Bloom, your host, and today we have Garrain Jones, who is a friend, a mentor, a training partner of mine. And Garrain, I'm really glad to have you here. I want to share with you guys why Garrain is so special to me. So besides that, Garrain is someone who is traveled and spoken around the world. And he is a best-selling author and has a book, Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life, which I have read. And he hosts these amazing retreats and masterminds. And, besides all of these accomplishments, Garrain really is a community person. And so I knew Garrain from Austin, Texas. We met through community. And then I joined his mastermind, and it's the Artists Within retreats and mastermind that I've done 2 of them now with Garrain. And through that, I've experienced personally a lot of growing and community and so much blessing from having Garrain as a coach, as a mentor, and also as a friend. And I think, Garrain, that's one of the things that I most appreciate about you is your ability to hold those 3 things at the same time authentically. Um, and so Garrain has a really beautiful trials to tribulation story, and I'm hoping some of that can come out a little bit during our conversation today. And as you guys know, if you've listened to the show before, or if you haven't, the premise of the show is this question: what and where is God? And what does it have to do with me? Meaning the universal me with all of us. And so, Garrain, I will just start with that question and invite you to answer it in the way that you feel most moved to, and we'll take it from there.
There is not a word in the verbal language that can, in my opinion, describe God. So I will do my best, because the language, the verbal language, is one of the lowest vibrations of language. So for me to even use words by nature, it literally takes away from the essence. So, in my best description, God is me, God is you, God is we, God is through, God is us, God is when, God is where, God is how. And anywhere you look, you see God. And anywhere you don't look, you see God. And so I would say the omnipresent, anywhere, everywhere, all around, up and down, the essence of creation. And that's why using the names like create, that's why things happen to you in this world and babies were created. And anytime you're creating, you're literally using the thread of God. And so that is my best description of the essence of God. And remind me of your next question.
Thank you. Okay, so let me just recap that first of all. And I think the first thing that you said, and of course I'm paraphrasing, that there's no actual spoken language that you feel you could actually define God with. Even that in itself is a kind of definition. I feel it's like, okay, so then if that's true, then God is something beyond verbal description, and even that is pointing to what it is.
Yeah.
And
That,
then
that was actually good, really good. Something beyond verbal description. By me using language, it even takes away from the essence of what it, if I can't even say it, actually is.
right. So then, you're so poetic with your language, though, like even as you're speaking, you're rhyming and you're flowing in this description, and it's like
The
spoken
creator in me.
spoken word poetry of, so we talked about what is God, where is God, and you're sharing, it's in me, it's in you, it's in we, it's this omnipresent all around up and down, right? And and then the other part, which is perhaps what I'm most excited to speak to you specifically about, is the what does it have to do with me? What does it have to do with us? And you already have been speaking about the creator aspect. And I know that you are a powerful creator and you bring out the creator in others. And so I feel like that's getting into the piece of what is God, what does creator have to do with us? So let's dig into that a little.
So from my perspective and the way that I feel and look at life, um, uh, what does it have to do with us? I feel that God is us, wanting us to come back to the
Mm,
one true essence, and everybody is focused on all this stuff on the surface. But then when you come to love and you're in the frequency of love, all of a sudden there is a oneness, and then that's where the most of the change happens and most creativity happens and babies come through.
mm,
And but I'll share with you through the lens of why my movement is so powerful. And Shiva, I've never even told you this.
okay.
So the name of my company is called Artist Power. Okay. The name of my podcast that is coming out is called Art is Power. And
Mm,
it's a different way to say artist power. And so you can't say heart without the art.
mm,
HE is silent. And if you put the art in parentheses, it leaves the HE, but the HE is silent. Heart is power. God is love. Love is God. The reason why it has so much power is because my work is my ministry and it's literally being fueled, and I'm the vessel, and it's being fueled by God. And so, artist power, what does it have to do is bringing people back into the essence of their truest, who they really are, deep down on the inside when the truth shows up and nobody else is around. And I'm not talking about when the bird is trying to be an alligator. You can see how life would be difficult.
okay.
People running around every day trying to be something that they're not. And deep down inside is this true voice, this true expression. And when you come back to the one true expression, it's so interesting how in that alignment, everything becomes available and possible. So, what does it have to do with us? It is us. And so, when we remember that we're what we're searching for in him, in her, in the money, in the sex, in the drugs, in the alcohol, in the work, in the overworking, in the over everything, over sexualizing, is this deep sense of fulfillment, and it's been inside of you the whole entire time. So when you recognize the God inside of you, it's funny how all of your gifts come online. You're in the abundance frequency. You're able to create and all these different things. So what does it have to do with us? Everything, everything that is. And
Mhm,
when we remember that, and we start remembering anything that is plugged into nature, tapped into nature's resources, benefits from nature's resources,
mm,
and will be here long after we're gone. It's always fruitful, it duplicates itself, and it continues to replenish itself over and over and over and over and over. So it has everything to do with us.
mm. Thank you, Garrain.
You're welcome.
So I feel like stories are very relatable for people. And of course, your story is a entire encyclopedia of stories, but I wonder if you could share perhaps just a little bit of your own story, because I feel like that's very relatable to see that, it's one thing to see someone who is a powerful person and an influencer and has, everything that you've built already for your life and go, oh, well, he can talk about being tapped in. But you've grown into the person that you are. And so I'd love to just give people a little piece of that story because it is so inspirational.
Yeah, so man, there's so much to it, but I will share with you this. By the time I was 8 years old, someone could have written a story about the trials and tribulations that I had grown through. But we'll start when I'm 27.
Okay.
I was living in my car for 2.5 years. Um, I was over $200,000 in debt. My mom was dying in the hospital. My girlfriend had just broken up with me because I couldn't get my life together. My daughter pretty much disowned me because I couldn't get my life together, and you can't give what you don't have. And all of this was happening at the same time. So 3:43 in the morning in 2011, I screamed out, "Okay, okay, I'm tired of fighting. I don't want to fight anymore. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to be surrounded by nothing but positive people. I just want to inspire people, and I want to make a bunch of money, but I want the money to represent something that I passionately believe in, that I would do for free. Just show me a sign."
Mm.
And a week later, I'm at the gas station, and a homeless guy asked me for money. And I said, "You have more money than me." And he said, "Change your mindset, change your life." And it was something I've always heard, personal growth words, none of it landed.
Mm.
Something about those words and the energy behind those words created a conscious interrupt and made me think about my entire life. And I was like, well, is my life the way that it is because of what I've been thinking? Is my whole life a lie? Change your mindset, change your life, change your mindset, change. So in that moment, I decided that I was going to start doing the opposite of everything that I would normally do in areas of my life where I wasn't happy. Normally, I would go and chase women and try to sleep with them every single night, going home from the nightclub. Boom, change your mindset, change your life. So I practice chasing a better version of myself.
Mm.
Stop going to the nightclubs. Stop listening to certain music on the radio. Stop watching TV. Started reading books. Started listening to audiobooks. And so I trained myself out of the environment of the habitual nature that I was living. And so my life right now is a direct inverse. Now, there was a point where, as I come into closing, there were hundreds and thousands of people following me. And I was like, why are these people following me? And I was just like, all I did was share my story. It was like I came back from the dead. Now, if I died
Mm.
and I resurrected and I shared my testimony,
Mm.
and now there's hundreds and thousands of people following me,
Mm.
and I've impacted millions of people. I wonder what would have happened if I was crucified and rose from the dead. And I started sharing my story. And it was in that moment I said, my life is a living witness. For me, the stories in the Bible are stages of my life.
Mm.
And I said, okay,
Mm.
I believe. And that's when I took myself to church. That's when I bought my own Bible, not my mom's version. When I went to go follow, I went to go be a steward, I went to go learn. And when I started pursuing,
Mm.
that's when two became one.
Mm.
And so now my work is my ministry, and I see souls constantly lifting, constantly seeking, constantly vibrating in the frequency of light, constantly. And that's what's behind everything that I do.
Mm. Thank you, Garrain.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I've at least seen some of your work in action through the retreats and through the mastermind. And um, yeah, it's interesting comparing to that word resurrection. It's a really It's a really interesting perspective because it's that sense of awakening and reawakening and remembering. And I hadn't quite thought of it in terms of that particular word. But I certainly have seen that at the retreats with the people who come as well. And, can we talk about the retreats a little bit actually?
Yeah, we can talk about that. I'm not going to use any names. We can definitely talk about the retreats for sure.
Yeah, not to use any names. I just, because this podcast is about what is God. But what I've seen in the retreats is I'm curious how you would explain it. It's as if through life, whether it's something we come in with or whether it's stuff that happens to people in childhood, it's as if I'm just going to call it like a darkness or a heaviness that can settle over people that creates shackles, if you will. And so, we're talking about, okay, what is God? Where is God? What does it have to do with me? And then there's this other question but then, okay, fine. Maybe that's what, where, and how. But then how do I reconnect to it then? It's like, okay, well, if God is the indescribable omnipresence and it's everywhere and it has to do with me, it's this creative, force. But then how do I reconnect to it? And that's what I see happening is like somehow in this space that I've been in with you is this heaviness, this darkness, we're lifting it and lifting it off and then creating space for like you say, when the truth shows up, we're creating space for the actual truth to show up. But I think for people listening, there could be this question of, okay, fine, I want to connect to that too, but how?
So, I have a saying that says flowers that grow together grow much faster than they do by themselves.
Mm,
And there's something powerfully to be shared about the power of community,
mm,
the power of group. If you have a flower that's this small in a field and the rest of the flowers are this big, do you know that this flower energetically will catch up to the rest of the flowers? That
mm,
is part of nature's design. And so, uh, sometimes when you mention words that seem so vast to people like God, they can go into their shell because of how the dogma and then people's like, you got to do it this way, and if you don't, you're gonna go to hell, and that, and I think that that level of judgment, people should be mindful of their energy.
mm,
That is very unhealthy energy, and I think that before you teach pre-calculus to babies, they must first know what building blocks are, and the ABCs are. And I think the ABCs of the introduction to God is your natural state, like joy,
mm,
love, gratitude, forgiveness, letting go of resentment, and things like that. And I think that when people start participating in these practical behaviors, they can feel a heaviness start to leave. I forgave the two men who murdered my father. I let go of somebody who molested me and my family when I was 12 years old. And every single time I did that, I felt like this something lift and I felt lighter. And I think that everyone in the world, regardless of your beliefs, even by nature of practicing these behaviors of loving yourself, loving other people, being in the state of gratitude, practicing the art of giving and receiving, forgiving those who hurt you, letting go of resentment, uh, even if you have a bad relationship with your parents. It's not saying that you have to be their best friend, but respecting and honoring your parents because y'all share the same nervous system. So, by nature, by honoring and respecting your parents, you honor and respect yourself.
Mm.
And I think that when you practice these behaviors, you are lifted in a specific vibrational frequency, and the more your vibration starts to rise, you get exposed to more things in this physical world reality, and the higher and higher you rise, your internal world starts to shift according to your rise. And then I feel the universe becomes plastic according to your being as you are grounded in your essence. And I think that even if you practice one thing, like how can I write a list of people from kindergarten up to present day that have hurt me and that I have hurt in thought or in physical reality, and you make an intention to forgive them, you make an intention to apologize, at the end of your list, you will not be the same person because you will be in the frequency of nature. God created nature, so you will be in the frequency of the of the God-esque frequency. So
Yeah.
that's a formula that I feel every human, regardless of your religion, your background, and everything, you can participate in those behaviors and watch what happens.
I got excited listening to you share this just now because I really did hear a formula. Like you actually just gave a formula. If people want to re-listen to what you just said, you just named, I didn't write them all down, but you just named several different attributes or traits rather that one can practice and develop that will lead to one feeling more connected. And really, some of the traits that you just named as you were speaking, I was going, oh, well, from the Jewish mystical perspective, which is my background, a lot of the attributes you named are also the attributes of the attributes in that system as well. It is actually a formula or a map. And one of the key ones that you focused on was forgiveness. And I wanted to just share this thing of writing a list. So when I was a little younger, I had left the farm where I'd been living for many years, and that situation had its light and its dark, and I was in a place of healing and reflection in my life, and I went and lived in this little cabin in the mountains for the winter, and I had a list. I had that list. And it was a long list in just a spiral notebook of literally everyone that I'd ever been hurt by or hurt in thought or deed. And I had a little practice. It was like a little prayer with a little bit of like intention, not just words, but a very more like a meditative prayer for forgiveness. And it was a practice of forgiveness. And I would go through that list, and I didn't do I mean, maybe there was 50 people on the list or more. And I would go starting at the top, and I'd do that person every day. I'd maybe do like as many people as I could, maybe 8 people a day, until I felt in my heart I was complete. And then I'd move down the list.
Hmm.
And then I'd moved it until the entire list. And then one day, I remember there was one woman in particular who I had felt so hurt by. And then one day I remember um, I literally was like on the floor crying. I was so hurt. And it might have been that night or later that week or something, because I was really just doing this practice. I had a dream with that woman in it. And I forget exactly the context, but all I remember is that she and I were on the floor laughing so hard that our faces hurt. And I woke up and I just knew, like, wow, it's been released.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, there's something to say about that, and I also have something similar. One of those names that was in my list was a guy that I was working with, and we were in similar pay scales, in a health and wellness company. I didn't like him. He didn't like me. I had pride and ego, and so did he. And I remember one day that we were going to a promotion together. We were part of the same organization. And I remember going on Facebook before I had all these followers on Instagram. Facebook was private. And I remember I wrote something down. It was like this personal development quote that I had said. And I tagged like 50 people, and like maybe 15 people liked it.
Hmm.
And I didn't think anything of it because that's the normal pattern.
Mhm.
I remember going into my mirror and I say, you know what? Him being a friend to me has nothing to do with me being a friend to him. So I'm just going to choose to love him no matter what.
Mm.
I'm not going to allow somebody else's state to change who I know myself to be. And I felt different. And as soon as I verbalized that, something leaped out of my chest. It was like, I go on the vacation and I pursue him in a way where I was like trying to like let him know that, brother, I just want to apologize for how I've been towards you. You've inspired so many people, and I'm admirable to the things that you've created. I want to create the possibility of us possibly have a relationship one day, but like with nothing in a way. I just want to celebrate you for all that you've created. And I let it go. And I felt different. When I got back from that trip, which was 3 days later, I felt different. And I posted the exact same post, but from a different feeling. And I didn't tag anybody. There was 1,500 likes. I'm so used to getting like 15, 20 likes. You post the same thing 3 days later after releasing that resentment from your heart and releasing hate from your heart. And then all of a sudden there's 1,500 likes and there's like 900 shares. And I'm like, yo, I spoke to my spiritual advisor, Monica Zans, and she said, Garrain, you released hate from your heart. And it was so interesting how the lid that was on my business, perceived to be on my business, within the next 3 months, my business had tripled. And I was like, oh, that's how that works. So it was almost like to release all the things that are out of alignment with nature as it was designed. And when you allow yourself to be open and available, that is meant for you will always exist in your life. So you're either attracting it or you're repelling it.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's a very, very powerful lesson and one of the foundational pieces. I think that's a really powerful place to perhaps wrap up on. So I want to ask you if there's, I mean, that was just so powerful, but is there anything else that you really wanted to share? And if not, I'll just let people know how they can find you and learn more.
Yes. There's so many people in the world right now talking about how there's these dark forces coming, and then there's more people that are like tapping into their gifts and skills and everything. And that it's all this is because it's the great shakeup, because Earth is merging into another version of itself.
Mm.
Well, if Earth is merging into another version of itself, that means there's another version of human that is gonna go, that is gonna merge with that new version. It's kind of like an iPhone going to they don't keep the same buttons, the same processing speed. When it upgrades with all new things. So as we go into this new Earth, there is a human 2.0, and and this big dark force that a lot of spirit beings are feeling right now, it is very vast and is very robotic and it's very artificial. And um, I will tell you, there cannot be the vastness of this force if there is not an equal of its equivalent on the other side. There's no night without day. There's no love without hate. They have to coexist. So if this dark force is this vast, then the human 2.0 version, which I call not verses, but God's awakening to this dark force. And I want everybody to remember this word: harmonized human.
Mm.
That is one who is in harmony with nature as it was designed. And I want you to remember this word: harmonized human.
Mm.
And the theme of my next retreat, that is starting in 7 days, is called harmonized.
Mm.
I'm very, very privileged to be in some of the most powerful rooms in America. On the tech side and in the spiritual side. And because of my business skills, I'm able to hear the language and not the words that are being said, but the energy that is behind what is being said. And I can strongly share people that a great awakening is coming,
Mm.
that a new version of human is coming, that a new version of earth is coming, and a dark force is coming. But that is all part of the great balance of how life works out. That's how life is. You get to decide who you're powerfully choosing to be. And just remember the word harmonized human. Just remember that word.
Oh, wow. Garrain, that's such a cliffhanger. I'm like, wait, what is all of it? What's coming? Oh my goodness. And at the same time, as much as I'm curious and I'm like, wow, I want to talk for another, hour and dive into what's coming. And, I've heard these conversations as well, and there's a lot of ideas or theories that are very compelling. And
Everybody's just guessing, really, right now.
right, at the end of the day, what do we really know? Really? And at the end of the day, I think because I can get caught up in these conversations too. They're very fun,
Yeah,
and they're also kind of scary. And at the end of the day, I think what you shared before of this map towards becoming a harmonized human, we don't have control, right, over what's coming, but we do have the control over whether or not we want to choose to forgive.
absolutely.
So,
And I wanna leave it off with this. Because laws are always changing. We used to have a law where it's like you don't have to wear the seatbelt, then it became a law. Laws are always changing, but man-made laws.
hmm,
This is what I really, really want people to really focus on.
hmm,
There's even laws in religion,
right.
but there is a law that transcends every religion, and that is nature's law as it was designed, because that's what started everything. And it does not change. There's lots of things in religions you did change as you grow. The one law that does not change is nature's laws.
Hmm,
Plant a seed in fertile environment, give it proper nourishment, it will grow. Its
yeah,
unfertile environment, it will mutilate the seed. You look at the trees, they're always giving and receiving and giving and receiving.
yeah,
Strong foundation, you plant the seed that creates a whole root system, and there's a network underneath the ground, kind of like our ancestors. It's a network underneath the rock. Those laws do not change. So if you start studying those laws and you integrate your daily practice
yeah.
with nature's laws, that is the surest route to becoming a harmonized human.
Harmonized human. Wow. Thank you. Yeah, this is very powerful. It's powerful for me too, actually. I mean, for many reasons. And I'm scheduled to travel to Israel on Tuesday. And
How fun.
I'm so excited. And Garrain, there were 800 rockets sent into Israel yesterday.
Mhm.
And um, it's just this dichotomy. I really sunk into what you said of, when there's dark, there's just as much light. And so I want to offer us all a blessing that may we find ways to reveal that light that's within us, and may we draw down more of that light into this world here and now, that we can elevate this world here and now. Um, and may we focus on the harmony and on the good and on the joy that we get to experience, because we don't ever know what's coming, but we
Mm,
do get to choose what we do right now.
absolutely.
So thank you so much, my friend. It's such a pleasure to get to have this conversation with you. And yeah, a lot for me to think about as well. And to all the listeners, I hope you guys enjoyed. Clearly, there's so much more depth to this conversation, and this was just a little taste of it. But you guys, this is my friend and coach, Garrain Jones. And you can find him on Instagram at Garrain Jones. GarrainJones.com is his website. Are there any other platforms where you want people to know about?
I would say my book, Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life, is on Amazon. It's
Yeah.
very, very, very practical and talks about all of those basic things that I shared about forgiveness and love and loving yourself. My whole book is also a ABC roadmap to discovering the magical world of the inner you living in your outward expression glory.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I'm glad you mentioned it. Um, okay, and so thank you guys for listening. This is the What is God podcast. I'm Shifra Bloom. In case you didn't know, it is free to subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a review. Come hang out with me, Shifra Bloom, on Instagram, and we will see you guys next time.